How the heck are you, everybody? I'm Fastidious, and welcome back to my channel. We have a very, very fun video for you guys prepared today. As you can see from your screen, I am not alone. I am joined by the fantastic Seamus the Hug Monster. You want to say hi, Seamus?
Good relevant time of day to you all.
Thank you so much to Seamus. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
So folks, today is the kickoff of the Dare2Rare Challenge. This is going to be a Rares only series, of course 100% free to play. I will be joined by War Guides and Veil Shot. I thought what better way to kick off today than with this video featuring Seamus the Hug Monster, in which we go over the top 10 rares in Watcher of Realms. So, let's get into that.
For anyone that doesn't know Seamus, Seamus is a content creator in the space, but he's also a very active member of my community. He's helped me with tons and tons of things. He's even popped up on this channel a couple times. If you remember that epic drop rates project I did, Seamus and I have something else cooking right now. Should we give him a little taste? What do you think?
Just a little taste.
Just a little taste. All right, so right now it's Wednesday. On Friday, we have the official announcement that we are doing our legendary drop rate study. Seamus has already been working feverishly behind the scenes preparing our submission form. People are like, okay, cool, they're uneven with epics. What about legendaries? We thought, yeah, duh, of course they're uneven with legendaries, but it's time to actually prove it. However, that is not the video today. There's your little taste, everybody. Today, we're going to lean into Seamus's other expertise. Well, he's a man of many expertise. However, tell us a little bit, Seamus, about your rare expertise and what you've been doing on your channel with your Rares Only series.
So, I believe I'm up to day 78 of a Rares Only challenge where I cannot use anything better than a rare hero. And it's going really well. I was actually surprised how good the rares are. I'm about 2/3 of the way through Void Rift Normal.
Okay, so that's a great barometer. I think it speaks to how well you're doing, but also how hard an undertaking that is, right? In this game,
yep.
The rarities, the higher the rarities, are very much overpowered compared to the lower ones. However, as many of you probably know, maybe some of you don't, I'm about to partake on a Rares Only challenge myself called Dare2Rare. I'll be joined by Veil Shot, and as of yesterday, officially joining us on the challenge is going to be War Guides. And I, of course, want to get the leg up on those guys. I want to have the best Rares account besides Seamus that exists, so who better than the man himself to help me prepare and go over the rare heroes in Watcher of Realms. So without further ado, today will be
bad news for you, Fasty.
Oh no, what?
I've already offered my expertise to Veil Shot and War Guides, and both of them have said yes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, I'm probably going to be the first one the video, so, and then you answer my DMs faster. At least you got to do that for me.
Yep.
But, okay, so it's going to be an even playing field. Maybe that's better. However, if anyone is curious about the rares of Watcher of Realms, if anyone might want to partake in this challenge with us, which we certainly hope many people do, this is going to be some value information. So in this video, we are going to talk about the 10 relevant rares in Watcher of Realms. Obviously, we're going to need more than 10, Veiled Shot, War Games, and myself when it comes to this challenge. However, for a normal player, Seamus and I went through it, very much leaning on your expertise, sir, and it seems there are about 10 that are strictly relevant to all players through the early game, and some of them lasting into the mid game, and then one, maybe two, lasting into the end game.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
So without further ado, Seamus, the floor is yours. Shall we begin with fighters and work our way down?
Yep. So, unless you have been living under a rock, you know Decimus. He is absolutely a king for Gear Raid 2. If you need somebody to plonk on the thing and die, make it Decimus, because he only dies when he damn well wants to. And that's, 8 seconds after he takes fatal damage.
Yeah, beautifully said. Please.
He's just great at what he does. It's one of those times where you look at an awful lot of epics and legendaries, and for what he does his job perfectly. And a lot of epics and legendaries can't even say that.
Absolutely.
They're too busy being shiny and forgetting there's a basic job they need to do.
Exactly. And I'm glad we started with Decimus, because Decimus, he's going to speak to what makes a hero that is a rare amazing, and that's they do one thing and they do it super duper well. So with Decimus, if anyone somehow, like you said, if they're living under a rock, if they've missed out on it, and it goes without saying, for any rare hero you want to build, disclaimer, just max skill them up. They give you so much rare skill dust in this game, so many rare skill crystals, that you literally could max out every rare and you'd still have leftovers. So if someone you're even thinking of dreaming of using, please skill them up. Please.
I was going to say, I think we were talking about this before, and it's, I think, 112 rare skill crystals will max the skills for every rare.
Absolutely.
So
if you go here,
no excuse.
Look at that, 72. I could already max out like 12 rares, I believe that is, not counting the many I've already maxed out. 8,600 skill dust. It's just a joke. So please max out your rares, and please max out your Decimus. We can just show my Decimus right now, just to show you guys how easy it is to actually use him. He doesn't need any kind of proper build. He's here to do one thing and one thing only. I put random gear on him. You don't need any mythic gear. Put him in a rapidity set. Get his costs down. Make sure you max out the only skill that matters. I'm not even going to address his ult or his basic attack. It doesn't matter. His passive, he basically takes lethal damage, takes fatal damage, and it takes him 8 seconds. So with Gear Raid 2, there's going to be no one better at tanking those hits. Basically no one better throughout any rarity. Could you use Broke here? Could you use Baron? Sure. Might you use them? Probably, but you'll still be using Decimus because you'd be a fool not to. Any final thoughts, or should we move on to our favorite girl?
I think favorite girl.
Yes, the halfling herself, Narvi. What is there to say about Narvi, Seamus?
She is not a halfling. She's a dwarf.
She's a dwarf? I always thought she was a halfling. I guess she's a
Nope,
little pickaxe.
she's a dwarf.
Well, talk about your other expertise, right? The king of the lore in this game, but that's a story for another day. I should have known from the pickaxe, but she does look like she looks like a halfling to me. Okay, tell me about Narvi, please.
So Narvi is a cost generator. There's an awful lot of them in the uncommons and the commons, but most people use her because she does her job and she does it well. You eventually end up replacing her with Dallin, maybe, but if you want to save out your epic skill crystals for people who are more valuable to you, keep using Narvi. She'll do her job. That's it. She really just does her one thing and does it well.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Dallin. However, I found places that you can use Narvi that unless you've maxed out Dallin, like you said, Narvi is going to be better. Even something like Gear Raid 2, because if you look at Narvi, she generates cost in 2 different ways. Obviously, you're going to have her max skill. So at 500 skill cost with 300 initial rage, she's going to generate 8 additional costs. And then here you can see every 18 seconds, that's 3 costs. You can get this to trigger twice in Gear Raid 2 on the higher levels, 19 to 21. You can get that to trigger twice. And because she generates costs off her ultimate, as opposed to someone like Dallin, Cyrene also generates off her ultimate, but Dallin just does it off her passive. By giving her some attack speed and some rage regen, if you put her next to the guys that come down the side at the very beginning, she can get some hits out. You can trigger this twice, and then this can trigger twice, and you're kind of in a really amazing spot. Only Dallin can beat that, and that needs a fully maxed out passive skill. So in terms of cost generation, I love Narvi, and I still am finding in takeovers all the time I find use for her. And let me actually just say, I think you will get a kick out of this, James. The amount of times I do takeovers almost every day. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a service I offer. The amount of times I log into some Wales account and I have to yell at them because they crunch their Narvi and their Decimus. They have like an A4 Cetrum, but then they don't have Narvi, and I'm like, you need to save these heroes. So actually, this is my little soapbox, and you can echo my thoughts. Do not crunch these heroes. They're really good. I'm sorry they're not shiny, but they're very good.
I think they're shiny in an entirely different way. So few people realize they're that good. They just see yellow and think, oh, that's got to be better. No.
It's true. It's true. And keep in mind with these rare heroes, guys, the costs are lower typically, right? So the base cost of Narvi is 10. Dallin is 12 at A4. She's 11. But so for a lot of things, it is a lot easier to use these heroes. And also save your rapidity gear. That's a story for another day. But those 2 things. Shall we soldier on?
We shall.
Any honorable mentions here? There was actually one we were just chatting about, right, Seamus?
Oh, there's a couple of honorable mentions I'll give here. But we were chatting about Nash. He's getting a damage boost, which is great. But he's quite a good AoE AoE fighter.
Absolutely. Let me actually let me insert a disclaimer here. Any honorable mentions, they don't fit the criteria of actually being relevant to all players. However, if you're interested in any form of challenge, super budget, or rares only, that's where these honorable mention heroes might step up. So please continue, Nash.
So, Nash, he's a great AoE fighter. I use him a lot in GR1, standing behind the wall and let him chomp on whatever's coming near him. He's not outstanding. You're probably not going to use him if you're not doing a rares challenge, but he's fun.
Yeah. And I am doing a rares challenge, so I'm sure I will use him. Yep. And as of tomorrow on Forerunners, so I would assume within 2 to 4 weeks after tomorrow on Global, he will be getting a buff. He'll be start hitting 5 enemies. So you're striking up to 3 targets, 5 chops on 3 targets. Currently, it's going to go up to 5 targets, and also his damage multipliers are going down, and his ultimate cost is his damage multipliers are going up, and his ultimate cost is going down. Any final quick mentions before we move on to our defenders, Seamus?
I will also give a shout out to Barkley as the only rare fighter who can hit 2 squares ahead. He's great.
Okay, so really good to know.
Squishy.
Yes, so specifically for a challenge situation, you'll use him because he's got that scorch range, if you will, the 2-tile range. All right, let's go to defenders. Should we just start with my favorite? I think you know who I'm going to say. I'm sure she's your favorite too. Dagna. So Dagna.
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 Oh, the pain Dagna has caused me.
The pain.
I love her. She's brilliant. It was absolute hell to pull her.
Okay, that's the pain. Yes, I remember you saying. So, Seamus, your rares only account obviously still gets legendary and epic pulls. You got like 1 million legendaries before you ever got your first Dagna, right?
Yep, I got the other 2 legendary rares, Bort and Nero, to A5 before I pulled one of her.
The other 2 lords. Wow. So you got them. You got 6 copies of each of them before you got your first copy. And Dagna's the best out of the bunch by far. More. Oh my god. I will just give my take on Dagna. So this is going to be the normal player take, and then you can give me the challenge take. I still use her all the time as a lord. She is one of the rare lords, and I never have gotten a Solda, the epic lord from her faction, from the Northerners, and I obviously have never gotten King Hearts. I still use her, like when I beat Gear Raid 221, I used her as a lord, right? I don't deploy her. I guess I deploy her in 221 just to tank immediately die and take the hit from the roly-polies, or now the sprinty guys, whatever we're going to call them. Let us know in the comments if you have a good new name for the reskin on the roly-polies. But that's how I use her, and she still helps me a lot. I noticed the difference in damage from the couple damage dealers I use, but certainly from Vortex, I noticed a difference. How she must be unbelievably good for your challenge.
She is. So she has to solo the Northerners faction trial. She does that. It's going to be a little while before I can get to the next level because I really need to up her damage. But she's a self-healing tank. I mean, what more can you really want from a tank?
Yeah.
You're going to sit there and just, I get to ignore you for the next while. Excellent. Do your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just being a rare, she's cheaper than your typical tank. You'd expect your typical tank to be 18 or 19, an epic's typically 18, a legendary's typically 19. She's only 16 cost. I really like that. And she has healing in 2 different ways, from her ultimate, with her manual ultimate, so you can save it for the right time, and then also just every 30 seconds, it goes down to 26 seconds, a very chunky heal. Wow, 50% HP regen. That's pretty amazing.
Yep. She's absolutely wonderful.
I'm sorry.
Stick her somewhere. You can pretty much guarantee you're not going to have to worry about a tank. And also remember, she's a Northerner, so she gets the occasional shield from her shield bonus.
Yeah, that's why I was pulling this up. She's got the typical Lord thing from the Northern faction, and it really works, even though she's rare. I mean, they've got a great Lord skill, and she doesn't get anything additional on it, like a Solda or certainly King Hearts would, but we'll take it. We will absolutely take it. I think she's going to be our only really proper hit, except for one more from the defenders, right?
I think Rex deserves very much mention, because everybody uses him. He gets you through so much of the campaign.
No
I
question.
mean, yes, eventually you crunch him into Livian.
Yes.
There's another good tank. But he's got a 3-target stun on his ultimate, which goes off automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. Again, exactly what you want in a tank.
And a
Put him
very low cost, huh? 260. and it goes up to a 2-second stun. I mean, that really is something. For the Rares challenge, he seems like an absolute must.
Yep. Him and Dagna just do most of the work for me.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, he's wonderful because you can just put him down and then don't worry about him. So long as he's got a healer sit on him, he's sorted.
Very plug and play. I think something worth mentioning right now, you might be thinking, wow, if he has that stun, if he's so good, why does he fall off? Maybe you're new to the game. It's all about base stats in this game, and the rares were just done dirty. I mean, 18.4k HP and 23 defense at max promo, max level is just never going to cut it, you know? But Rex looks super cool. And he is super cool, especially in those early game situations, and no question is going to be an absolute staple for the Dare2Rare series. There was one more we were talking about in the honorable mention department. So those are the two relevant ones. Should we talk about Gorza?
Yep.
Tell me about what
I've been kind of sleeping on her.
Okay.
I know she's going to be better than Glenn, but I just haven't had the resources to get her up to 6-star yet.
Okay,
but
nice.
I'm kind of going to have to for the Baron fight in Void Rift, so I will be doing it soon.
Yes, she also is getting a buff tomorrow on the Foreigner server, where she still has this nice defense reduction. That's pretty solid. She's going to have the increase in her defense. That will remain the same. However, her damage is jumping up a good bit. So right now it's at about 185% skilled up, and I think it's going to about 250. So she is a tank, so not going to be so much about damage, but maybe she's definitely someone who's probably going to have to get a look for the Dare2Rare challenge. On to the Marksmen. There's some cool ones here. Where would you like to begin, sir?
Well, let's start with one everybody should know, Elukas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He has a slow. He's great for the Curse Cult faction trial. He does what you want from a rare. You give him a job, he does it well. Yes. And he doesn't, get all shiny about it.
Yeah, and in terms of like actual relevance, I think Elukas is. I like the other two a lot, but he's definitely and actually there's really 4 we could talk about total, but there's the 3 that are going to get the relevant thumbs up from us. I think he's the most relevant late game of this bunch. I actually used him to beat 319. Just getting a touch extra slows at an extremely low cost really makes a huge difference. Someone just commented on one of my videos that he actually helped them with 320. So when you have the people coming down the right side in those late game stuff, a couple slows from Elukas could be the difference. For me, it was the difference on 319. Shout out to Cold Brew for actually mentioning that to me at the time when I was doing that on stream. I really like Elukas. I also like this kind of icy goblin vibe. It's quite cool, I think. And it's the same kind of thing as Narvi, same thing as Decimus. They all do their one thing. His one thing, he spams slows. I would be interested to ask you, Seamus, have you used him at all for damage in your challenge? Have you tried beefing up his build?
No, I haven't been using him much yet.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm expecting to use him soon, but again, limited resources, so you've got to pick who you're 6-starring.
Absolutely. Okay, onward and upward. Shall we do Cuke or Amahle?
Amahle.
Amahle,
she's someone I slept on for quite a while, and she has a very good defense down.
Yes.
So she has a 10% defense down on her basic attack, which is pretty much short enough that you're always going to have it up, even if you don't put any attack speed on her.
Absolutely.
And
look at
then
that. It's
on
going to
her
last.
ultimate.
Sorry, it's going to last incredibly long amount of time. If you skill her up, which obviously you will if you're going to use her, this is going to last 3.5 seconds. And let's check her attack speed. Her attack interval is already 2 seconds, so the passive stacking on the basic attack, 100% uptime as long as she keeps hitting the same thing, right?
Yep.
Amazing.
And, I mean, when you don't have many options, she's great for Guild Boss.
For sure. And then that ultimate, huh?
Yep. 25% reduction defense down for 5 seconds.
At a 500 cost too, with a 2-second base interval. Even in a rares only challenge, I mean, she's going to be, I can tell she's going to be a superstar at the very least for something like Guild Boss, or maybe even helping you take down the big Golem boss in Gear Raid 2 or something. Anything single target. She really seems like a star. I mean, you could get 2-to-1 shield on this pretty comfortably, maybe even 3-to-1 if you got some crazy attack speed rolls. That's amazing.
Yeah. Also, if you can get her in Raged Regen, you'd be surprised how fast she can get her ult back up again.
Yes, good point. Yeah, another hero like Elukas who Marksmen doing just one thing, but probably not going to build for damage, but just for getting those debuffs out, she seems like a star.
Yep.
All right, and let's wrap this thing up with Cuke, and then we'll do our honorable mentions. So Cuke is going to be an early game option, but I'm sure you used him plenty, right?
Oh yeah. He still does plenty of damage in Guild Boss. Anywhere you want, anywhere you have a single target boss, you want to poison, Cuke's your man.
Yeah, and if people want a little, Cuke is very, I think, I actually don't even know if you were on stream for this. You might have been on this stream watching when I did this, but Cuke is very much considered like great in the early, maybe into mid game for Guild Boss, right? However, Cuke was an MVP for me beating the Phase 2 Nightmare Void Rift boss. I don't know if you saw that.
I did miss that. I'm
yes.
sorry.
So
I'm going to go watch it.
Yeah, so actually I'll be doing another run whenever that boss comes back up, and I'll post on YouTube. That was on Twitch if anyone wants to go check it out. I've done it twice now with him, and just getting those little extra poisons, you can hide him in like on the left side, if anyone can picture that map, hide him on that middle platform where he stands alone. As long as you wait till she does her big AoE blast, then you put him down. He was doing more damage than my Zealot too. It's just crazy. Really crazy.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, because you can just keep him going. She's not going to target him, so you just have someone in there blocking, and then just tick, 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 tick. Poison is nothing to sneeze at in this game. So
it does so much damage.
Yeah, there's a late game use for him. Could have I used someone else? Sure, but why not? I guess let's do honorable mentions. Let me just quickly get these three out of the way. They're kind of just the uncommon version of Cuke. The reason I like to use Cutter, for example, who we're going to talk about in 1 second, for AMR as opposed to Cuke, is Cuke places these poison traps, which can kind of make placing your units in AMR difficult. However, Cuke in general, for this late game thing, like I'm talking about in Nightmare Void Rift, is better because he's a rare, so you can skill him up and get this down to 200. Also, I'm realizing, of course, we're about to talk about uncommons, but they are worth a mention for any kind of budget series. So Cutter, this is my boy. Same thing as Cuke, basically here. He does have a faction where Cuke doesn't. He's a piercer, and basically has the exact same ultimate, except it can't be skilled down to 200 cost. It's only 300 cost. So that's why Cuke is going to be the superstar. Then Screef, kind of the exact same thing as Cutter, except he doesn't have a faction. Except he doesn't have a faction. So it's like you might as well go with Cutter because he does have a faction.
Yep.
And now for Liam. Liam's gotten a lot of buzz lately because people like to use him on these interesting 321 comps. And he does have kind of the same exact kit, right? The 300 with the poison. No, I was
he only has the poison on his ultimate, whereas Cuke, Cutter, and Screef have it on their basic as well.
Absolutely. You slid in too quick before I got my disclaimer. I was going to be like, he basically has the same, except he doesn't have it on the basic attack. And then he does actually have this here where it hits 2 more targets as opposed to Cutter when it bounces around. People say that's a little bit better for doing those interesting things in late game Gear Aid 3. I think if I was to try one, and maybe I will, I think I'd still lean Cutter. But people do like him for that. And like Cutter, he did get a faction. Should we just quickly talk Maureen and then keep it moving?
Yep. Maureen, just early game, she's got 2 factions, so as soon as you get into faction trial, she's doubly useful.
Yeah, no question.
And she gets the stat bonuses from both of them, so, more stats is more better.
Absolutely. And that is a big thing to mention, and something another thing why, obviously Cutter or Liam, just why not pick them over Screef? When you do get a faction, you get these bonuses on top, and these are just always going to be included in that hero's kit. Hero without a faction just doesn't get them, right? So someone like Cutter, Cutter gets it, whereas someone like Screef, who's like a man without a home, he doesn't get that at all. So Maureen, you're right, is doubling up. That's that's something I've never actively thought about as an interesting bonus for just any dual faction member in general. Very cool. Anything else about Maureen? I mean, she's got her defense down, right? That's quite nice.
She's got her defense down. She has an AoE every 5th basic attack, and her ultimate is just, a nice big blab.
True. She has an amazing animation on her ultimate, too. You wouldn't expect that on a rare, I feel like, with those kind of cannonball things. All in all, I think she's fine. I think in terms of relevance, she's not going to really be there. You do get her for free really early, and she does do AoE. Don't love her. I do think for the rares only, though, she's worth mentioning because she's got that defense down. It looks like it goes up to 20%. That's pretty sweet. And she's going to do some damage. And then you're so hurting for faction members that instant superstar by being in 2 factions. All right, shall we
Yep.
keep going to healers? This should be a quicker conversation. I will start it off and you will take it home. Autumn's my favorite hero in the game. For anyone who missed it, I actually did a marathon stream where I finally beat 321 yesterday. More on that to come. But I used Autumn because I use Autumn all the time because Autumn is ridiculous. I use her in takeovers all the time. I use her on my own account, my now endgame account. I use her all the time. If you're missing it, just like all other very good, very relevant into the late game rares, she does one thing. She does it really well. Ignore her heals. They're terrible, but what she does do is she has this ultimate, which her passive is essentially part of. Make sure you skill her up. That's always going to be the theme with rares. This goes up to a 60% damage increase. She has that same range like Dolores, and then whenever that ultimate's up, she's also doing her passive, so it's essentially just part of it. That's another 30% crit rate increase when you skill it up. She's nutty. I love her. I still use her all the time, almost every day on my actual account. How much are you using her? You must literally use her in every piece of content, right?
No. No. I like her. I think she's really good. But I don't have the gear yet that she's going to make that much of a difference for me.
I would think because you don't have good gear, she would make all the difference. Because all of a sudden you could build all your DPS with only 70 crit rate. I can't imagine not using her in every piece of content in this Dare2Rare series. I'm going to tell you guys that much right now.
Yeah, I do intend on using her more, but I only recently got it to 6 stars. She's still only level 50.
Yeah.
I use Nunea a lot more.
Yes. Okay. So I think we've got to talk about Nunea, and she's going to be the only other healer that makes our relevant list. So what makes Nunea relevant for a normal person is you didn't get Dolores. So take it away, Seamus.
She has inspiration.
Yes.
It's not a big inspiration, but considering she's also an attack-based healer, the more attack, the more better.
Yes. More attack, more better. I like it. It is worth mentioning she has far higher base attack than Dolores. So Dolores,
yep.
even with Awakenings, I think is at about 2650. Nunea,
they're not. She has the box.
Yes, cool.
Range, which is a lot easier to work with.
That's true. That's a great point. So, I mean, guys, let's be honest. With Nunea, we're talking about what? This goes up to a 15% inspiration compared to Dolores doing 60%. It's a quarter of that. However, she has, let's do some quick math. She's got about, maybe a bit more than a quarter more base attack. So that's going to help in a bit. So it won't be nearly as potent, but it will make a difference, especially in that mid-late game content. I know for sure for a challenge like this, she is an 100% must, right?
My Nunea is currently at 8.4k attack.
Okay, that's not bad, right? So 8.4k attack is 2.1 extra attack she's sharing with everyone else. Is that the same as a Dolores who's giving up to 7k attack? Of course not. But Dolores is Dolores and Nunea is a rare, so we'll take what we can get, right?
But, what she does well.
I do want to ask, are her heals relevant? Are they at least solid?
Yes.
Okay,
they're
so
as
that's
good
something.
as Camille's.
Okay, so whereas Autumn and Dolores kind of have negligible heals, she's actually doing some actual healing as well. So that's pretty cool.
And like I said, she's an attack-based healer, so she's double dipping on how useful that her attack is.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, she's and don't be afraid to, honestly, if you are trying to push some content, so this is speaking to people that aren't doing a challenge and you just haven't gotten Dolores yet, she could be the difference. Don't be afraid to 6-star her. It's not hard to 6-star these heroes in the game, especially later on. Even if you get Dolores the week after, if she helps you push a little deeper into the game, you shouldn't regret it. It's not terrible. It really isn't. Another 2k attack really is something. It really is. All right, so any honorable mentions? I know there's one you were interested in talking about. Or there's really two we could talk
Camille.
about. Huh?
Two.
Camille, yeah.
First off, Camille. She's just a workhorse. The only thing she does other than heal is put a shield on people, but she does it well. And again, she gets you through an awful lot of the early campaign, same as Rex, and then you crunch her into Lightlock.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the shields also... are there any other healers giving shields? Because if not, then she's a must for any challenge series outside of general relevance.
Nope, she's the only one.
Well, there you have it. So I need to build my Camille ASAP. And then Aaron. Let's talk about Aaron.
Aaron is somebody who isn't that great at the moment. He does a multi-target heal, which is not an AoE heal. So he doesn't heal everybody, he just heals 3 people. But what makes him interesting for me is I think he's going to become a lot more useful the longer the game is going, because he has one thing that only one other healer has, and that's his Dispel. The only other person who has a Dispel is Midan. Now, she's very common and absolutely everybody has her.
There is one more, but it's Elwyn.
Oh, right. So, even less likely to have.
Yes. Yes, as more debuffs are introduced into the game, for sure. This is what we were chatting about. As we get more and more debuffs, Dispel's only going to be more potent. And as we get, as the epic pool gets bigger, and I mean, most people aren't going to have Elwyn, and then it's going to be harder to get mid on, right?
Yep. And even if you do have mid on, well, what happens if you've got 2 different places on the map where you need a Dispel?
Yeah, that's true. Also, it looks like he's got the same range as mid on, right? So they're both going to be hurting, like with that Elwyn range.
Yes.
So yeah, it totally could happen. I mean, right now, unless you have an amazing Vortex or something, without Midon or Elwyn, it's super hard in Phase 1 of Nightmare Void Rift. Even hard Void Rift, it's really hard with those poisons that are getting put out. So if we're going to get more content with more debuffs, so he might be relevant in a big way. So someone to keep your eye on, people, especially if you're newer to the game, if you're seeing this game in the future and you don't have a copy of Midon yet. All right, on to mages. This should be a pretty easy place to wrap it up. Not so many of them to speak of. Only, what is this? Only 5 total, including uncommons. Shall we start with our Sorzy? No, I'm just kidding. Let's start with Voltus.
Voltus. So again, everybody gets them. And you use them for so much a campaign. And a lot of people will 5-star him, whereas most others you'll only take to 4-star. The reason is, if you don't get a couple of good AoE mages, GR1 is just pain, and Voltus can just shine there, even at 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually never 5-starred my Voltus, but I was very close to doing it. I kind of just didn't do it out of spite, but the vast majority of people will do it, so I think that just makes him relevant for everyone because he will carry you into the mid game. Everyone will outgrow him eventually, but in faction trials, he was my best faction trials hero for the longest time. You guys can look at my cultists now. They look pretty darn good, huh? They didn't look like this for a very, very long time. Up until day 50-something, or day 49 is when I got Morrigan. Up until that day, I only had Elukas and Voltus. That was it. And Nero. So Voltus was a superstar for that as well. You must use him a lot still, right? I know he's not your total favorite. We'll talk about that at the end, but he's still really strong, right?
Yeah, he's not my total favorite. He still does work, even on my main account. I just realized yesterday when I was doing some XP raid, my Voltus is still in there killing stuff.
Yeah, why not?
Because I hadn't gotten back and updated it with my new heroes, and it's just sort of, he still just does work.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, again, he does one thing, he does it well. You're not going to see any crazy debuffs here, you're not going to see any crowd control, but does he do a lot of AoE? He does, and is that going to make a huge difference for most players for like their first week or two, maybe longer? Without question.
Yeah.
So I think he's our only total relevant, except for, I guess we have to talk about Nero here, the Lord. And I will take this moment to say, why didn't we talk about Borit? We already talked about Dagna, we're about to talk about Nero. Is Borit a Lord? Yes. He will be your only Lord, potentially, for your first week. But in just 1 week's time, he's replaced by his epic version, Ein, who is better in literally every way. So he might maybe be relevant to a couple people for like 1 second, right? But it wasn't worth mentioning. Nero, however, it's a lot harder to pull an Aeon or a Morrigan than it is to log in on day 7 and get Ein. So tell me about Nero.
Nero is so good to being amazing, but he's just so expensive.
Yes, he's so expensive.
He's ridiculously expensive.
You guys can't actually see. I was circling, but now I got to move Seamus. This is worth moving your head for. I hope you don't mind.
Yep.
29 cost. 29. That is outrageous.
And if it wasn't for that, he's a good mage.
Yeah, I tested. Like I said, I only had Elukas, Nero, and Voltus were the only heroes I had for what is that? 7 weeks from the cultists. He does damage. He really does. He's Soleil's dad, right? He deserves better.
So
should we take this opportunity? Actually, should we take this opportunity, devs? If you're watching, just make him like 21 cost, please.
Yeah,
please.
Something as simple as that. Hell, make him 23 cost. Same as Drogo, and he'll get on the field a whole lot more.
Yes. So how do you actually use him? Beyond a Lord, or?
I do use him Beyond Lord because he's dual faction. He's also a Watcher. There's only 3 cultists, so him, Elukas, and Voltus are doing work in the Cursed Cult faction trial, and he's the only one who can hit air targets for the Watcher faction trial. So he's doing work there as well.
That's so interesting that that's the case, because when I think Watcher, I think like Brienne and Tariel or Idril, but obviously you don't have them, so you lose the real superstars. Interesting thing with his ultimate, I wanted to point out, if we go to his max level here, his base attack, obviously it's like it's poop, right? Like he's a rare hero, 2400. However, he does self buff himself when you skill him up tremendously, plus 60% attack increase. So I could see him doing some real stuff in Gear Aid 1 if you needed him, right?
I do use him in Gear Aid 1. It's just, I've got Voltus and Drogo and Maureen.
Yes.
And,
fair enough.
He doesn't shine, but there's a couple. Just reducing his cost would help him so much.
Reduce the cost, devs. Reduce the cost. All right, on to our
but
final
apart
honor.
From that, everybody's going to be using him for his Lord bonus.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, if you miss the Aeon fusion, like not many people pull Morrigan, right? So, and it's almost as hard to pull Aeon. All right, so let's wrap this thing up with the honorable mentions. We have our 2 favorite heroes, right? So we'll start with your favorite, and we'll finish with my favorite. Let's talk about Gonkba, and I know how much you love Gonkba.
Gonkba is, I swear, I'm going to make him the mascot. He's great. He's soloing the Easter Terrorist faction trial. I think stage 3. He's almost ready to do stage 4, which is pretty damn impressive for one guy.
Definitely.
And he's got one of the strangest things I realized yesterday. Even though he has a ground attack, it does not say it is less effective against aerial units.
That's true.
Most of them say they take 50% less damage. His doesn't.
So I think we're to assume it doesn't, right? It just works.
Yeah. And his ultimate is just hilarious.
Tell me.
He slaps down a series of AoEs that anything that goes over it gets more damage.
Okay, great.
It's fun.
So the spikes come up. It's almost like with Eye when people walk into the crystals. These are like spikes that stay up for a certain amount of time and people take damage as they walk over it, or?
It is more like Osiris and his ground area. It's smaller.
Got it.
But and they only take damage once from it.
Okay, so he's like Osiris. He's like Osiris, but no ground effect penalty against air units. So that's pretty solid. Let's check that. It's like the same as Nero, right? It's like this shows you how good Voltus is with like 2600 base attack. That's again just highlighting the issue with the rare class. They are the victim of their low base stats. At least he gets awakenings. Not every hero gets awakenings. So there's Gonkba.
And to be honest, while the awakenings are good for rares, they're not really exciting.
No, they're all the
just
same,
basic
right?
Stats.
Yeah, they're all the same.
There's a couple of variations in there, but it's just basic stats.
Yeah, just little attribute increases. But it's funny because these are the two memes. I mean, more Sorzis, who we'll wrap up with, is the bigger meme. But Gonkba, we always say, is like you got gonked. Like that's a bad thing. But with how good he's going to be, if you happen to find yourself in a rares only series or a challenge series, getting gonked is a great thing. Sorzis, though. Sorzis is, I always say he is prescient. When Sorzis shows up, which feels like all the time, then good summons follow. However, tell me about Sorzis and the guild boss, Seamus.
I was really surprised. So I kind of slept on him because the devs did him dirty. I'm sorry, they did him dirty. He cannot solo the Nightmare faction trial because he just can't reach the 2 different paths you need. And it's so unfair to him. So I kind of slept on him, and I got round to 6-starring him. I put him into the guild boss, and he out DPS'd everybody, including
even Cuke. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder where all that damage is coming from. Let's see.
Because the guild boss is considered to be the lowest target Sorry, the
Okay.
lowest HP target.
I guess he's the only HP target, which makes him the highest and the lowest, right?
Yep.
They must be
So all of
considering the
his
guild
hits-
boss to have less than 30 HP then, right? 30% HP. This must be triggered.
It must be doing that.
Yeah. Which is quite interesting. I always assumed they would I always figured they would think the guild boss just program it that he had full HP. But maybe they're always programming that he's no HP. And then look at that. The threshold, I guess, looks like the threshold can go crazy.
I think what they've done is they programmed the guild boss to have whatever HP is necessary to trigger all your passives.
1
So
second.
if you need him to have high HP, he has high
Shaman,
HP. If you need
Shaman.
him to have low HP, he has
You
low
froze.
HP.
You froze, so you got to say, I think what
Ooh,
they
sorry.
did. You can pick it up. It wasn't your fault. Just pick it up from there.
Okay. What I think they've done with Guild Boss is they programmed him to have whatever HP is most advantageous to the player. So if you need high HP, he's got high HP. If you need low HP, he's got low HP.
That would explain why
Which,
Zealot
if
always
they did do that,
gets...
that's awesome.
And that would explain why Zealot... It seems like Zealot 2 is always getting her benefit, right? When she's hitting
Yep.
people with higher HP, and maybe it's the same thing here with our Sorzy boy. But you can see the target HP threshold. Here it's saying it's a reduction, but it must mean it's at a higher threshold, right? Because that wouldn't make sense. Why would you want below 30%?
Yep.
This means it must be going up. So it looks like it's going to go up to 40%. And then your damage is going to increase pretty substantially, another 15%. So 45% bonus damage. That must be why. So he's getting a 1.45x multiplier straight up, it seems like, on Guild Boss. So some proper damage there. Do you think he could help people early game, just in a normal account?
Yes.
I guess if he's better than Cuke.
What he does, which I think is underrated, because, he prioritizes whoever has the lowest HP. But what he's doing is clearing out a lot of the chaff. So when you have AoE targets, they're now hitting the people who it's more effective for them to hit,
Okay, that's
as
pretty
opposed
cool.
to having to clear out all the little ones,
Good
all the
point.
all the ones left over with low HP.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's nice to have Sorzus make an appearance on my account beyond just being a meme. I think we're looking
Yes.
at a thumbnail character right here, our Sorzy boy. Seamus, thank you so much. Any final thoughts you want to share on the topic?
I'm really looking forward to actually the three of you doing your Rare series, because I think I'm going to learn stuff from them.
Awesome.
I really think the Rares, the Uncommons, and the Commons need to be exploited more. We know there's possibly 2 more Rares coming, and I'm going, but I want more! These are
Yes.
actually more fun than some of the legendaries.
I'm happy you said this, Seamus, because this is actually how I had already in my head planned to end the video. I'm hoping this brings some attention to rares and uncommons and commons, because a potential horrible thing that could happen to destroy the game is getting very top heavy, right? We're seeing more and more and more legendary heroes. We've seen only 2 new epics, or 3 new epics if you count Aatrox, that have arrived in the game. 2 of them seem to have already been an accident, and they were patched through accidentally. And then we get new legendaries. We get like 2 to 4 a month, right? You need, think of it as like a pyramid, right? That you need a strong base of lower tier heroes, and then your stars on the top that they support. So again, devs, if you're listening, don't neglect your rares, don't neglect your epics. Seamus, thank you so much for joining. The video went a little longer than we had planned, but I think it was a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to take on the series, and I'm sure I'll be picking your brain endlessly. So thank you, sir.
Yep. Not a problem.
And guys, please go check out Seamus's channel. Like he said, you got 70 plus days of rares only content, some really, really good stuff. I've been Fastidious. Subscribe to both of us. Share it with your mother. Tell your mother to check out Seamus as well.
And just remember, Fasty likes being perved on by cougars. That's why he wants your mother to watch.
I'll see you guys in the next one. That's a funny way to end it. Oh my god.
Fastidious.